Man, that West Coast game hit me like Marina Mabrey, you know? Uh, like my eyes probably look tired. Because I am tired, little deliriously tired. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it was a rough, late game. uh, you know, the Golden State Valkyries were impressive. The way that they swarmed and the way that they played, and as an expansion team, that is a hell of an effort by them. I think when you look, do I have this set for kids? Let me just make sure I didn't have this set for kids. No, it's not made for kids. Okay, cool. I didn't see any comments in yet. Usually they start flooding. So I know I made that mistake one other time. But the Valkyries were really impressive, and they have every right to brag. Now and all that stuff can be splattered everywhere. A bad game from the Indiana Fever. It's one of those ones that I would just chalk it up to the game, and move on. I understand. Some people don't like that, and somebody has to be held accountable, and there has to be big ramifications. And here's the thing. You know how I know Caitlin Clark is kind of like LeBron James in a sense now, right? She's inherited that crown that the King once had, where she has a bad game and it inspires like all this like and or broader like weakness is no bag, no none of this, no none of that. That's the thing that's going to come out, and every time it's going to be more hysteria, right? Like it's going to be more hysteria when Clark doesn't play well and the Fever lose. As I said in my video last night, but Caitlin Clark was in a rough schedule pocket, and so were the Fever, right? Like nobody likes to hear that stuff, and they'll say excuses, but that's the truth of the matter. Like when I looked at it, when you go back to the game where she strained her quad against the Liberty, that was 3 games in 5 days. 3 games in 5 days. And I was worried going in. I was just like, let her get out of this game unscathed. Let her get out of this game unscathed. And of course, that didn't happen. But that is, if you've ever heard of load management and you'll go like, I hate load management. Everybody hates load management, right? Everybody hates the principle of load management. And what it represents and all that. But the reason it exists, or has existed, is because of when you have a heavy schedule, the overexertion on the body, the risk of injury. And a lot of gamblers will look at schedules. There's a reason there's a difference in the way teams play each other in the playoffs versus the regular season, because in the playoffs, you're seeing the same team over and over again for a series. You're seeing that same opponent. You're on the same schedule. One of you didn't fly in the night before from the game the night before, and that's in the context of a long NBA season, really. And the same applies to a WNBA season, especially now that the WNBA is played in a shorter time span, fewer games, or more games, I'm sorry, in the same amount of time. And that is the thing about this pocket of the schedule. When I looked at it, the Fever were playing, Caitlin Clark's out with injury, right? She returns that game against the Liberty, plays on Saturday, and then plays on Tuesday. And think about what happened in that game on Tuesday. The Fever are all roughed up and all that for 2 days straight, and everybody hears that. There's no way to completely block that out. That has to be kind of exhausting. So physically, mentally exhausting. Then you travel across the country to Golden State, to the Bay Area, and play a team that plays really hard. And really, the Fever kind of let that game get away, too. They were playing like crap, but they still had it under control. They still had a big lead. And then when things started to spiral a little bit, they couldn't right the ship. And I think they had tired legs. Caitlin Clark shooting we'll get to the scouting report aspect of it in a second. But to me, her shooting was part of, the not having legs. That comes with not having legs, right? Poor shooting. And if you look at her numbers in this game, let's just say she hits 2 threes, right? 2 of the 7 threes that she takes. All of a sudden, she has 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists. If she hits 3 of them, that's 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists. So she played like crap, but, I don't think there was some secret unlocked by what happened last night. Though Natalie Nakasi, the coach of the Valkyries, had some good quotes after the game that are certainly worth sharing. Here is what Golden State's coach had to say.
Specifically, but can you just say what the general idea was on Caitlin? Was it blitz the pick and roll essentially?
I mean, you guys, saw what we're doing, right? But like I said, just to the prior press conference before was we were being disruptive. We know that she doesn't like physicality, right? We know that she wants to get to that left step back. I mean, to me, all the time, I watched her in Iowa. So she loves that left step. It's like almost like a layup for her. So again, we're just making sure that she wasn't getting into rhythm and then that she was just seeing multiple bodies. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, they did a good job of that. And Caitlin likes the left step back. That is true. She likes to drive right. She doesn't want to drive left, and she doesn't want to shoot right. I mean, that is the scouting report on Caitlin Clark. But guess what? It's not a secret. Everyone knew it going into that game. There wasn't some eureka moment that came from the Valkyries. They didn't expose, anything there. That was what was already out in the universe. I've said it numerous times on this channel and the like, that was the case. So did they do a good job? Yes. Do they have a bevy of length and defenders that they could throw at Caitlin? Yes. Did it change the way that her career is going to be perceived and the way she's going to be guarded going forward? Probably not. That was already, the whole physicality thing. That's been the game plan from the beginning. So I really don't see it as, to be honest, I really, really see the game as a chalk it up and move on. If you're the Fever, if you're Clark and everything else. And I know people are going to talk about the roster construction. Look, the coach wasn't there for Indiana. Stephanie White's not there. That makes a difference. It can make a difference. And DeWanna Bonner, I think that's the kind of game where they might have missed her a little bit. Kelsey Mitchell called the team out for being soft. I don't know what's going on with DB. Hopefully everything's okay there. Certainly, a little concerning that she's been away from the team for this amount of time. But that is neither here nor there. Hopefully everything's okay with her. Same thing with Stephanie White. Obviously, her family's going through some stuff. So you don't want to hold them to any sort of account for missing games or anything like that. That's, obviously they got to take care of what's going on, and it's a long season. But it does matter, right? When you have your coach and then you don't have your coach, and then you have your coach and then you don't have your coach. And then they haven't had DeWanna Bonner for a minute now. She's missed several games in a row. So we'll see what goes on with that. But I think last night that was a game they could have used her on the boards, because the Fever, that's one of their weaknesses still, is getting beat up on the boards. Even though they technically out-rebounded Golden State. I'm looking at the numbers now. Didn't feel like that watching the game. Didn't feel like that. It felt like the Valkyries got to every loose ball. But the Fever actually had more rebounds in the game. And again, the Fever had control of the game for a big chunk of it. And then it got away. But shout out to the Valkyries who have that home court too. Like, every game is a home game. This is one of the first times that didn't apply. And you had Pods from the Warriors there doing the mock travel call. And look, there's no reason for anybody to be bent out of shape about anything either. That's what happens. That comes with the territory. when you're the big dog, when you're the most talked about team, other teams are going to give you their best shot. The crowd's going to get hyped. They're going to brag about it. People are going to clown you after you lose. So what? That's the deal. But overall, again, I don't see this as some big takeaway game. I don't see it as some huge indictment. To me, it feels like more chalk it up and move on. Though, like, it's super impressive that the Valkyries are 6-6 right now. Now, they have a negative point differential. I do think eventually it will catch up to them, but it still bodes very well for where they're headed, the direction they're headed, the free agents that they can get. Their head coach clearly knows what she's doing. And then the Fever are 6-6 with a significantly good point differential. The Fever's point differential is 4th in the WNBA right now. Their net rating is 4th in the WNBA right now. And that is despite missing Clark for however many games they missed Clark for. So you got to take that into account. That certainly matters. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So, folks, they can get their licks in. And it's funny because I see the comment section and I know they're just like dying. They're just dying to get clown Caitlin Clark and hear like people like me react to it and oh my, like she's the worst, she's trash. But it's basketball. These things happen. The greats have bad games. And look, can Caitlin Clark, are there things that in her game that need to improve? Yeah. I think she still can get more comfortable in the mid-range, diversify the shot diet a little bit. But what she does works so well, right? Like the logo threes are her game. That is her game. The hard drives to the right, she finishes at a great rate. So when you look at the, returns on the kind of shots she takes, it's still, even with the predictability of it, incredibly efficient overall. Incredibly efficient is the wrong, incredibly effective. And she's incredibly efficient at the rim. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and all that. Let me get into the member chats, super chats right now. I'm thinking of, let me know what you guys think of. I kind of like this time and maybe just consistently, maybe I just do it every day. This is, I have to get myself on a little bit of a schedule because I'm driving. I'm gonna drive myself into the ground, like Marina Mabry, and JC Sheldon or Sophie Cunningham on JC Sheldon. Let me know what you guys think of if the consistency would if you would really dig that for the lives, that is, and then like game recaps, whatever after they play. But I'm certainly contemplating it. Let's go. Kevin Zwicker says, "Yay area." Oh, yay area, like Bay Area. Big win for them, but just a bad day at the office for the Fever. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all. It happens. It happens to every team in every sport. And it's just because it's Caitlin Clark and the Fever that it's a much, much bigger deal. KD says, or just gives me a sticker. Thank you, KD. Appreciate that. And then she adds, what is your take on no one signing Ari at Fever keeping her? First of all, I need to see what happens with the DeWanna Bonner situation. It is a little strange. She's been out as long as she's been out. So I want to see what happens there. Again, first things first, hope the best for whatever's going on there. Secondly, I don't know. I mean, McDonald was not signed before the Fever signed her either, guys. You got to remember that. So I don't, nothing really changed. Some of these teams that are signing players are signing them in a pinch hit situation. And if I'm her, that's not what I would want anymore. right? That's not what I would want anymore. So I don't know if it says anything or not. We shall see. We got to be approaching 10 days, right? Since that happened. I mean, we're about it's got to be a week now. So we would find out next week. I'm still surprised like a team like Chicago perhaps hasn't reached out. But remember, GMs aren't necessarily changing their opinions and evaluations based on a couple of games. Obviously, the way McDonald played, Fever fans fell in love with her, and you get that. And she brought something to the team, and I think she brings a little speed and spunk to the team. So, of course, I would like to see her back at some point. I just don't know if I'm reading anything into it yet, but maybe so. I can't shut down the possibility. Lauren Allen says, thank you, Robin, for the rational points made for the bad game. Pretty bummed out by that performance. Yeah, I mean, I guess whatever. There doesn't have to be a crash out after every, like if there's an extended period of time, right? But here's what I expect. I expect the Fever to play great on Sunday against the Aces. I mean, if you just look at the schedule, this is like a prototypical trap game. Given Clark came back against the Liberty, then they go to Connecticut. They have that physical game, that fallout game, everything that happened there. The Aces on Sunday, big time showdown on national TV. And you sneak the Valkyries in between, who have Kate Martin on their team, Cece's friend, who are on the other side of the country, and have a bunch of fresh legs and heart. To me, that's just a prototypical trap game. And I almost take nothing from it. Ghost of Geraltus says CC is trash now. Send her to Mongolia. Yeah. That is that's funny. Lisa Diaz says this season I think everyone will be beating everyone. DJ with a good comment. Exactly. Why do CC fans crash out so much? I guess it's because they care. And I think the fact that they care is, I can't complain about that, right? How could I possibly complain that fans care? Certainly won't do that. But it also, there is going too far in that regard. There also is like, calm down. That is a thing. Her bad game included 9 assists and 7 rebounds. Really good game for most. Hey, look, Caitlin did not play. I thought she playmates pretty well in the first half. She did not have a good game. It was a stinker. But every single great players have those too. It's not as if great players don't have those. It doesn't mean anything. Like it does. You don't have to go like running through the streets, stripped naked, screaming at the top of your lungs. Chicago Cheetah asks, I figured I'd be fair here. What is your take on Angel Reese trademarking Me Bounce? Cool. Good for her. Look, Angel has the marketing thing on lock. She's doing well in that regard. I like the way she flipped it. Creative. Other than that, I don't got much to say about it. Joe Goski said this would be a good time slot. Yeah, I mean, this time slot works for me in a lot of ways. So I just, maybe I'll try to keep it consistent regardless of how often I do. And maybe I will just, take the leap and do it all the time. Because I have experience doing shows when nothing is going on. It's not as if I can't do that. And by the way, guys, appreciate all the interaction, super chats, member chats that I've already gotten already today. Again, those get read first. So if you want to make sure your comment is read, I can't say that, I'm not going to play favorites in that regard. Kevin Zwicker says can't win them all if you're CC. Yeah, I need another nap or a nap. That's basically what I had last night was a nap. I also need a day off. This is an interesting question. Do you think CC's leg is bothering her again? No. If it was, there's no way she should have played. If it was bothering her, she should have sat out. So I hope not. I just think, again, if you look at, all right, what are the games? Let me look at Caitlin Clark's struggle games this year. What are her worst games? Let me see. I mean, she hasn't played that many games, so it should be pretty easy to check out. 3 of 14 in this game. 6 of 18 against the Liberty. So what do they have in common, right? Like her worst games are all the ones that came in a truncated schedule, right? The Atlanta game, she shot 4 of 11. The Liberty game, she shot 6 of 18. The second Atlanta game, that is. So they played the Sky on the 17th, then Atlanta on the 20th. So a few days off in between, 2 pretty big games there for Clark. Then they play Atlanta 2 nights later. So that's the third game in the week. That's when she struggles. And then they play the Liberty again, the game she gets hurt in, which is the third game in 5 days. She struggles. She plays against the Liberty, goes off, couple days off, plays the Sun, has a really good game. Then quick turnaround in Golden State, third game of the week, struggles. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. If any Iowan soccer moms need a hug, I'm here for you. Well, thank you for your generosity. Oh, did you guys know that Clark is the turnover queen and doesn't have defense, guys? Oh, no, he got us. He got everybody. Andre did it. Andre, you did it, man. Everybody's going to be in shambles now. How will anybody ever live with themselves? How will they ever survive? Now that you've pointed that out. Well, she can't handle physical play either. She sucks. What a bum. And the team is overrated. I mean, man, the truth is it's just crushing everybody right now, Andre. Everybody's not going to know how to deal with it. Oh, man. I can't believe you exposed her and them like that. Damn. I wasn't even thinking about it. But now I realize she can't handle the physicality and is the turnover queen and can't play defense and the Fevers suck. Man. What would I have done without Andre? I don't know. I don't know what I would have done without Andre. I can't believe he exposed all of that. It's like a revelation. You know? Who would have possibly been able to deal with that, otherwise? Valks are better than expected. It's all good. Just one game. Exactly. Ghost of Gibraltar says Andre works for the Mongolian Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Ghost, for all your super chats today. Appreciate it. Andre has exposed all of us. I mean, I might as well just cut it off now. Should I end? I don't know. I mean, like now that he dropped that bomb in here, maybe I just wrap it up. Bobby Yu says, you better be right, Robin. This video will not age well. And your subscribers will not let you forget it. LOL. Look, all right. So how much do you think it's changed? Look, I get it. The Liberty also lost to the Mercury last night too. The Liberty team that the Fever played on Saturday is not the best version of the Liberty. Right? Not the best version of the Liberty. Without Jones, without Fibich, that is a different team. Those are, Jones can shoot the three and play inside. She's a beast. Fibich is one of the most underrated players in the league with her length, her shooting, the way she's able to play. So that is not the same Liberty. Nonetheless, the Fever beat them, and everybody's, euphoric. Then the Fever smoked the Sun, despite all the other nonsense. They smoked the Sun, and everybody's like, yeah. And now they lose one game, and it's the complete opposite direction. That's not how a long season sport works. I mean, let me go. So the Indiana Pacers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder last night by how many points? 17 points. They forced a game 7. Those two teams obviously have gone back and forth in that series, but not the Thunder's night that night. And that's in a series where they're on the same schedule versus a long regular season that you can look at. And, the Pacers at one point were 10-15 on the season. But even when they were rolling later in the season, I guarantee you I can find some random bad loss. At Chicago, 121-103. They lost to the Bulls by 18 points. They lost 3 games in a row to Atlanta twice and then the Bulls. Even the Thunder. How many games did the Thunder win this year? They won 68 games. They were 68-14. Let me find some random game that they lost. At San Antonio. 110-104 loss. They don't have that many losses. At Houston, 125-111. Every team, that happens in the course of a schedule. It ain't that deep. Now, if we want to talk about the trends over the course of the season, if you want to say this is a trend or here's a trend that concerns me, fine. But there aren't really any glaring, concerning numbers when it comes to the Fever. I mean, let me go look at, again, their net rating is plus 7.4, which is 4th in the league, and obviously skews low because they were without Clark as much as they were. The Fever are currently the 4th-ranked offensive team in the WNBA and the 4th-ranked defensive team in the WNBA. So, funny enough, they rank 4th in offense, 4th in defense, 4th in net rating. And that's with Clark missing half the season. I know. It happens. Redeemed Patriot. Valkyries played a great game. Officials were decent for the most part. Fever had a bad game and lost. Go Fever, time for another game. Exactly. Heaven Hollywood, who I've gone back and forth with for a long time. I think Paige will be a better all-around player when it's all said and done because she's a better defender. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I like Paige. I don't even know if Paige is a better defender than Caitlin at the WNBA level right now either. Where does Caitlin rank in blocks and steals? Last night was a stinker of a game all around, but Caitlin Clark has actually had a very good defensive year. And she's just, even if Paige is more efficient and Paige is better, here's what Paige is better than Caitlin at. Paige is better getting into the mid-range and scoring from those areas. No question, right? No question. But that doesn't make Clark's explosive stuff less. And that's the difference between Clark is so much more explosive than Paige, both as a playmaker, finding others, and where she scores from. Paige doesn't take any threes. That's a big flaw in Paige's game. She doesn't take any threes and she doesn't get to the rack. So I think when you put those two things together, that's a problem. Not a problem, But there's not a problem when I'm talking about a great player. Paige Becker's going to be a great player. When you do these comparison things, it makes it a little tougher. But she's a great player. But that's one of the differences between Paige and Caitlin, in my manner. Some of the differences between Paige and Caitlin. It's tough to look at these stats because I don't think Caitlin qualifies yet with the amount of games played. She's got to be getting close to that. Let's see. So Caitlin is averaging a block and 1.3 steals. What is Paige averaging in that? Not that those are the tell-all, end-all, be-all of defensive stats. By the way, Paige is also on a team that's 2-12 or whatever they are. Paige is averaging 2 steals a game, so she's doing well in that regard. Credit to her. And the block number is the same. So Paige is getting more steals out on the court. Clark rebounds the ball better, passes the ball better, scores the ball better. But Paige is a very good player. But you know what? One of the things, this happened with LeBron too. This is another game people like to use against LeBron, is they would always like say other players were better at like all the round stuff, or they could score from more levels or whatever, but they weren't as effective. It's like, so it doesn't matter. Like at some point there's a diminishing return. They weren't as effective. So you can be, more versatile, doesn't make you better. If that makes sense. Like the Hulk lacks versatility, but the Hulk still will smash. Make sense? That analogy? Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. So, but I also not like trying to do that to this Paige, who I think is going to be a terrific player. Charlie says, thank you. I think the measured approach is the best for my mental health. Look, there's more fans, so there's more opportunity for reactions, and there's just more crash outs and the like. But that's, that's it. I know that doesn't make for the most entertaining takes, like, chalk it up and move on. But that's really how I felt about that game last night. Looking at the schedule going in. I mean, and I, honest to goodness, I said that. It's not even like I said it after the game. I said it before the game. I mean, I texted with Rosalina. I'm sure she's making a video right now. Like, if you're in an ideal world, I'd sit Clark in this game. Just looking at the schedule. First All-Star votes are in, CC and Fee. Yeah, I just got the email from the WNBA myself. That's not a surprise. Not a surprise. Steve A says, I'm a fan, especially of Clark's gameplay, but there is room for criticism due to consistency issues. Who said you can't criticize her? I never said that. In fact, I just told you where I thought some of the, things she can work on are. No one said you can't criticize her. Lord Schaefer, anything still shows the Fever's failures to get a legitimate backup point guard option? Because that doesn't have. I guess you're just saying they're so reliant on Clark. A little bit of a maybe typo issue or something. But I do understand that, and that's where the McDonald thing came from. And Sydney Colson is like the definition of steady, but certainly not electric. And Kelsey Mitchell is just not a point guard. She just isn't wired that way. The problem with Kelsey is, as talented as she is, she's an undersized shooting guard. So it puts you in a deficit defensively. I don't know how much the Fever played their quote-unquote death lineup either last night. I'd have to look at that. How much of a look that lineup got, but that's the one I probably would have went to myself against the Valkyries. But again, I don't think it's the end of the world. The point guard point is a good one, though. And that is, look, the Fever at some point are going to have the money to bring in a 12th player. And we'll see what happens with McDonald after the 10 days and everything. But that is a fair critique of the roster construction for sure. Also, what's the Fever's pace? Everybody keeps talking about pace. I want to look at that too. Yeah, pace. The Fever are 5th in pace in the WNBA right now. And that's, again, with Clark missing half the season. So I would look and sort it by the game she played versus she didn't. But I don't know if their pace is actually all that slow that everybody's making it out to be. Chris Ward, do you think the Fever with their ads of DB, Natasha Howard, and SC were the right players for the team? Why do they keep going back to the motion offense when it clearly isn't working? But why sign her? Brianna Turner. I don't know if it's not working. What is not working about their I just don't know if it's not working, guys. I mean, the Fever have the 4th best offense in the WNBA with their best player missing half the season. Just because they lose a game doesn't mean everything doesn't work. Now, is there stuff that needs to get filled out? Yeah. But I think Stephanie White has told us. Now, Stephanie White wasn't there yesterday, but she has told us that they want to be prepared for what's to come later now, not having to do it later. And Clark, you can't, for as everybody knows, I'm as high on Caitlin Clark as anyone, right? She's just a human being. You cannot ask her to carry the load of the offense every single game, every single possession for the entire season and not break down. That's why you have to find pockets where she's playing off the ball or find pockets where she's sitting down. And maybe that's a roster construction issue, the latter part, or even when she's on the court and playing off the ball, who's the catalyst for the offense. But you can always give her the keys. And I just don't see this huge overarching problem with the offense when you look at the season as a whole. Thank you for the chat, though. You guys are coming through today. Appreciate it. Making me feel good about this time slot here. Did I get sensitive when I was talking about Paige and Caitlin? I don't think I got sensitive at all. I think I just gave you my thoughts. I mean, I think Paige Beckers is a tremendous player. I do. And I think she's a great ambassador for the game. And I just don't think she's in Clark's league as far as, again, effectiveness. Whenever your number one trade, I've never heard like the all-time great players like efficiency as their lead thing. Because the problem with Paige is she's efficient to a fault at times. She's only making 1 3 a game on the season. She's only taking 3. That should probably double. She needs to take more risks and take more shots. But her all-around play is tremendous. But, like giving the ball up so that Dejanay Carrington can try to facilitate the offense or get it going is not good either. But, it used to happen with, it was funny. It was like even Carmelo Anthony with LeBron. People would be like, well, Melo's actually a better offensive player because he can hit a 12-foot shot. No, he's not. because LeBron scores more, on fewer shots. He's better offensively. I don't care what your definition of the aesthetics or the versatility again. And Caitlin Clark also sees a game plan, unlike any other player sees a game plan. I guarantee you, there is not a single guard in the WNBA. I won't make the exact one-to-one comparison with the bigs because it's a different style of defense. But there's certainly not, I don't think there's a single player, to be honest with you, but there's definitely not a guard who's getting guarded like Caitlin Clark is. So, and I'm not even saying everybody here is wrong or anything, but we can't be like here and then here. That's a little, a little extreme. Regardless, that's about it for today, I think, guys. Got another minute or two if you want to get any more chats in. But thank you so much. Appreciate, as always, all the interaction. And I am a tired guy. Oh, there we go. Erlinga says there's a massive difference in how Valkyrie's coach picked her players to fit her system, unlike the suspicious Fever. Blaring weakness stretch 4 is needed. Oh, well, if you want to look at the roster construction and take some issues, I think Bonner and Howard versus one or the other and somebody, maybe you could take issue with. And then, again, not having a competent backup for Caitlin Clark. But we also, it's also fair to say Bonner hasn't been there. That's not a nothing loss, especially from like a versatile defense toughness kind of deal. And the Valkyries, as much as a good story they are, the Fever are way better than the Valkyries. They're way better. It's not close. It's not close. You will see that by the end of the season. The next time the Fever play the Valkyries, they'll spank them. The Valkyries play really hard. They are well coached. They're frenetic. They get in the passing lanes. They do a lot of good things. But it's not going to be sustainable like that. They need players. And just because it looks cool and you're like, oh, they play with so much energy is great. Trust me, they're not on their level. The Valkyries, again, have a negative net rating and a negative point differential. They've been outscored on the season, and per 100 possessions, they're outscored on the season. It's just minus 1.7. But that is going to show up as the season goes along. These two teams are not even... The Fever, our net rating is 7.4. The Valkyries is minus 1.7. The Fever are a significantly better team than the Valkyries. Significantly. It's not close. Yes, I do think a younger, bigger guard would help. I do. And by the way, I wasn't trying to diss the Valkyries. What they're doing is tremendous. But it's one game in a 44-game schedule where the Fever were on the wrong end of the way that the schedule came together, and they let the game get away from them too. The Fever were playing like trash and were still up by double figures in that game. They're a significantly better team. All right, y'all. That'll do it for me today. Cindy is always in my comments, so I'm going to make sure I shout her out. They were ready to punch, and the Fever didn't fight back. That's basically what Kelsey Mitchell said after the game. But thank you guys. As always, please like, subscribe, and all that. Appreciate it. And I will talk to you on the next one. Yeet.